Hello and welcome to the premiere episode of New York Yankees History and Heroes. I'm Lynn, and I'm here with my good friends Ciarra and Spencer. We are so excited to kick this off tonight. And tonight we are focusing on the 1995 Yankees. And if you could do the math, 1995 and 2025 are 30 years apart. And so we're going to get the ball rolling with that. And Spencer, I want to kick it over to you for, your thoughts and information and expertise knowledge about 1995 and our hero of the show. Spencer? Spencer, are you able to hear me? Ciarra, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Spencer? Spencer, are you able to hear me?
I think Spencer might be having some audio issues.
Okay, they can see me, but they can't hear me. Hold on, everybody. Let me go on mute for a second.
You're on mute.
Yep. So, well, you know what? This would be, I guess we could call this dress rehearsal instead of opening night. Spencer, can you hear us now? Okay. Hey, Tats, would you be able to send a message to Spencer and ask him, maybe coach him through? Yeah, I'm talking to you.
Spencer's on strike, just like 1994 in baseball. Yeah. He's staying on theme.
Okay. So everybody in the chat, thanks for hanging on with us. We're having a little bit of technical difficulties, so chat amongst yourselves. We're getting Spencer straightened out here. It's not Spencer, it's StreamYard. And so it's been a little bit cranky since Friday. So, but hang on there. Oh, hey, Sean. Hey, Jonathan. Hey, Demon D. So great to see you here. And yeah, Spencer just left the building. And so we're just going to wait because he's really the meat of the show with the history stuff. So thanks for your patience.
Yeah, I mean, torpedoes full speed ahead, as Sean Browning said.
Exactly. Hey, Spencer.
Good evening. Good evening. It's good to be here to talk heroes and history. And, nobody says that history has to be old to be history. So, Lynn, I know we got a plan, but I gotta bring this up because we witnessed some history on opening day. Austin Wells leads off the season with a home run. It accomplishes two things. He hits the first leadoff home run on opening day for the Yankees and the first leadoff home run on opening day by a catcher. I just think that's the most amazing thing. What were your thoughts when you saw that?
You go, Ciarra.
I was ecstatic because I was completely against Wells being a leadoff hitter from the start. And all through spring training, he just kept proving that he should be the person to do it. He showed up big on opening days. So I guess I won't question it moving forward, whether it's Wells or Goldschmidt, because they both did what they had to do. And listen, this whole weekend was phenomenal for the Yankees.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Lynn. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, this was a great, for Rookie of the Year runner-up Wells, this was a great consolation prize. I think I would venture to say it's a little bit better than Rookie of the Year. There's lots of those, but smashing an MLB record the way he did, franchise record, I mean, very few get that.
Well, as a visually impaired person who was at the game, you hear the din of the crowd. It gets a little louder and a little louder. When the ball goes over the fence, the crowd reacts in a way where you just know that it's a home run. But I had to ask myself, did he really hit a home run that fast? And then I started going through my mind, okay, somewhere in Yankee history, there must have been someone that hit a leadoff home run on opening day. Did Rickey Henderson do it? No, I don't remember Rickey Henderson doing it. Well, whoever did it in the Yankees, I mean, it must have been done in the 60s or the 50s, the 40s. I was really pleasantly surprised, that this was the first time in Yankees history that a Yankee led off opening day with a home run. Pretty amazing. So it's nice to be there, nice to be a part of history. That's your history, folks.
Okay, good night, everybody.
Yeah.
No, I mean, you look. It's already history. It's Monday. That was Saturday. But I really didn't want to wake up from that. And I said, you know what? I'm going to stick with my manage my expectations motto. But it was great living in that glory while we had it, and hope we get a lot more of it. So Spencer, you wanna take us way back to 30 years ago for a while?
Tonight's inaugural episode, I think it's a really good topic that we've picked. Tonight we are covering David Cone on the occasion of the 30th anniversary of the Yankees trading for David Cone in 1995. 1995 started off very, very inconspicuously. First of all, even before we got Cone, the strike from 1994 was still continuing. As spring training was approaching, MLB shockingly decided to institute replacement players. When I heard that MLB was going to use replacement players, like everybody, I thought, are they serious? Is this really happening? And as they went further along with it, it was just incredible to me. I was asking myself, who are they trying to fool? It was almost as if Major League Baseball was trying to realize the old Seinfeld joke. You're not really rooting for the team. You're really rooting for the jerseys, because what they were doing is just taking a bunch of scrubs. Well, maybe some of them were pretty good, so we don't want to call them all scrubs. But you were just taking seemingly a bunch of guys off the street, maybe former high school players, college stars, maybe some guy working in a grocery store, and giving them the chance to put on the jersey, and you were going to call them the New York Yankees or the Boston Red Sox. I think the Baltimore Orioles were the only team that refused to utilize the replacement players. Lynn, you remember that time. What was your thought when you heard that MLB was going to use replacement players?
I was like, oh, I don't want to be even the 10 miles away I am from George Steinbrenner right now. Because it is the antithesis of Yankee tradition and pride. Like, to put those pinstripes on is the biggest deal in baseball. And I just remember even though, let's see, in 95, oh no, I can't say I was that young. All right. Yeah. So even at 31 years of age, oh God. This history thing, I'm not so sure I'm going to like it.
Ciarra, you were alive in 2022, obviously, for the lockout to start the season. What was it like for you when the 2022 season started? The Yankees were supposed to open up against the Toronto Blue Jays, and there was a lockout and there was no baseball. What was your reaction to that?
Well, listen, so before I go into that, going back to 1994, so players started walking off August 12th. I was born August 18th. I would like to think that the strike was because they were celebrating me being born, and they were just waiting until I was old enough to like walk and talk. But in 2022, baseball is a big part of my personality and who I am. So not being able to watch the Yankees opening day, that was really hard for me. I was really I found myself not knowing what to do that day. You know, I opening day is a huge deal for me. I take the day off of work, whether I'm in person or I'm just sitting at home watching the game. I need the whole day to digest baseball from start to finish. I literally had nothing to do at all that entire day. And it felt like it was never going to end and we were never getting baseball back. So I was very happy when it finally came to an end.
What was your level of anxiety?
I think my anxiety had anxiety. Do you know the movie Inside Out? I was like that little orange girl from the second one. That's what I was like.
Your anxiety had anxiety. I love it. I can relate.
It was very frustrating. It was very fortunate that that seemed to have prompted, going back to 1995, that seemed to have prompted the players and the owners to get together, because it was just before the spring training games were supposed to start that they had come to a deal. What really shocked me at that time was when the replacement players were coming in, the major league players were very, very contentious towards them. See, I'm thinking, if I'm like some guy that comes off the street, I'm trying out for, the major league team because I've got this opportunity, I would think that major league players could understand, okay, I get it. Everybody wants to be a major league player. Somebody here's got a chance coming for an opportunity. Maybe I do that too. But they didn't see it that way at all. These guys, they hated the replacement players. They saw them as coming in for their jobs, even though it's ludicrous to think that, some former high school pitcher or some former college player would be able to take the place of a Matt Noakes or Paul O'Neill or Roberto Kelly. It just seemed hard to believe. So it took me years later to really understand, just the nature of the Players Association. And now I can understand why they really didn't like those guys so much. It doesn't matter that the Major League Baseball players are, for the most part, very wealthy. If you're going after somebody's job, don't expect a kind reaction from that. But that's how. Yeah.
Sorry, Spencer. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I know I'm like my Uncle Dorian. Blah, 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 blah. No, I was just closing out I was landing the airplane. I was just saying that, that's how 1995 started in a very inauspicious way. There was obviously a late start to the season. I think it was just a 144 game season. But 1995 for Yankees fans was met with a lot of hope that we'd be able to continue what was started in 1994. And 1994 was a turnaround season for the Yankees. Lynn, you and I, having been alive back then, we experienced the Yankees. I mean, I know, Ciarra, you were alive too. I don't think you were following the, you should be in Mensa if you were following baseball back then. But we hadn't seen the Yankees, even in first place. I think 1987 or 1988 was the last time they were even in first place for part of the season. So when 1994 ended, it was just so disheartening because the team looked so good. I mean, all of a sudden you thought, wow, this time, this is it. This really is our year. Mattingly, it's really his year. And all of that was dashed away. So when 1995 started, there was a lot of hope, and a lot of wonder if the Yankees would be able to repeat that and either have that kind of success or exceed that success. Lynn.
Yeah, and so they really had nothing to worry about because 1994 could be easily forgotten with what was in place when the players returned from the strike.
Yeah.
And we're focusing on Coney tonight, but I do want to mention that something else that happened in 1995 is we acquired this kid from Kalamazoo. The name is escaping me. Deron Johnson. Help me out, Ciarra. Derek.
My personal childhood hero, Derek Jeter, did make his MLB debut in 1995. The sole reason I am a lifelong Yankee fan is because of Derek Jeter. It's very easy to root for a team when that guy is on the team your entire childhood and into your adulthood. Like, he is the epitome of who you want to look up to as a child and as an athlete yourself. Shout out to the Yankee gods for making Jeter a Yankee. I've read his biography, his autobiography, I don't know, probably 20 times throughout elementary and middle school. And that guy was meant to put on the pinstripes. He was meant to be there just from the very start. And unfortunately for Anthony Volpe and anybody who comes after Jeter, that is one of the hardest positions, like the hardest shoes you're ever going to fill in New York is going to be that shortstop position.
Yeah.
1995, it didn't really go so well. In fact, I remember the Yankees really, really struggled, and there was a lot of worry about the team. There was a lot of worry if they'd even make it to the playoffs. Remember, 1995 was also notable because it was the first year that Major League Baseball instituted the wild card.
Yep.
Or actually, I think I should correct it. I think there was a wild card in 1994, but because of the strike, we never got to see it. So 1995, we were going to have an actual wild card winner. So it was very disheartening for Yankees fans to see them struggle because they looked so good the year before. And considering, the lack of success that we had throughout the 1980s, you couldn't help but think, oh no, are we going to miss it again? Is this really going to happen again? 1994, it goes to show you how fleeting winning can be. One moment you look so great, and the next moment, you could be just, another team in the league. So the Yankees, with their struggles and with their inconsistency, a notable moment, as is our subject tonight, was the trade for David Cone. And Lynn, do you have the information on when that specific date was?
Yep. So David Cone was signed. Well, it's interesting. He was signed first time around by the Yankees on July 28th, 1995, and it was a trade from the Blue Jays.
Right.
But then in the midst of things, he was granted free agency, and he chose free agency. And then he ended up coming back to the Yankees that same year in December. So, and just decided, okay, I'll free agent you back. Will you have me back? So really, I guess the real signing date for him was December 21st.
But the trade was in August of 1995. That's when he finally put on the pinstripes.
Right. Yeah. Well, and right. His first game in pinstripes was July 29th, 1995.
And that was against the Orioles, correct?
It was against the Twins.
Oh, against
Yep. And the Yankees won that one 4-2.
Okay, but his first time in pinstripes though, because I think that was a road game.
I don't remember
if
it was home or not, but I have in my notes that his first game in pinstripes was 7/29/95.
Because I was at Yankee, I'm pretty sure of it, but I'm pretty sure I was at Yankee Stadium for his very first start in pinstripes. I've always told myself that. I'll have to look back at that Twins game because I wasn't sure if I'm referring to his first time in pinstripes or if it was. Yeah, that's what I'm. I'll just shut up. Anyway, I saw David Cone like as soon as he was traded to the team. It was a game against the Orioles. My attendance at that game just happened to be by chance because really at that time I was just in the early stages of coming back and restoring my love for baseball. Between 1989 and 1994, I had very little interest in the team, and it wasn't because of the losing, but it's just because I was going from seeing them as a youngster to now seeing them as an adult. And my feelings about baseball had changed, and I, of course, had to adapt to the realities of baseball. But I started coming back to baseball really in 1994, like right before the strike happened. But when I saw him, it was against the Orioles. I remember Ruben Ciarra hit a massive home run to dead center field. I also remember that it was one of the rare games where Don Mattingly struck out 2 times. So pretty, Not the kind of thing you want to see Mattingly do, but David Cone, when he came to the Yankees, really was very pivotal because the success of the Yankees really hinged on him joining the team. When he joined the team, we really didn't have an ace or a power pitcher. David Cone brought with him playoff experience, and he brought with him, some a gutty nature. He was a guy that wanted the ball. He was a real gamer, and his arrival, I think, really pushed the Yankees over the edge and helped them get through that 1995 season to ultimately capture the wild card.
Yep. Because and really, if you were to ask an old-timer Yankee fan like us that was indoctrinated by Steinbrenner, they didn't really make the playoffs in 95, right? Because they got in on a wild card. That doesn't even count, especially when it was brand new.
You would have thought, I can understand fans thinking that. In fact, I remember feeling that way too. You can't help but think, boy, if this was like 1993, we would have finished in second place and that would have been it. But, as the wild cards have continued in Major League Baseball, I think those fans are now more accepting of it. In fact, you look at it differently. I look at it differently. I think, wow, we captured the first wild card. It's kind of like making the NIT in the NCAA tournament,
I'm happy to look at it that way. I've never been that staunch-minded, and in this day and age, when it's been since 2009, I'll take it any way we could get it. I was glad we got it the way we got it last season. Hope to see that again. But and Sean has a question, Elliot Spencer. So he wants to know: Did we still have Gooden in 1995? I can't remember.
I wasn't sure if we got Dwight Gooden in 1995 or
we
1996.
Had 96.
We got him in 1996. Yeah, I think him and Darryl. I think they came to the team at the in the same year. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Shout out to our friends across the river for giving them to us.
Yes. It's nice when we could say nice things about our friends across the river, but don't get used to it. So Coney pitched 30 games that season in 1995.
Yeah.
But during the 1996 regular season, he only pitched 11, because he had to leave for a good part of the season. Spencer, you want to talk about that?
Well, I just want to finish on 1995 and just final thoughts is that, when we got David Cone, we really didn't realize, all the great moments that were lying in our future when he joined the team. The first thought, of course, is that game 5 in the ALDS against Seattle. Watching him pitch, 155 pitches, watching him pitch until his arm just had no more energy in it. He really gave it all. He was such a gamer, even though he struggled in the inning that he left, and I think he left with the bases loaded. It was just remarkable the way he pitched and left it all out there. You don't see pitchers pitch like that anymore. Pitchers won't even. There's no pitcher that'll even pitch half the number of pitches most of the time as Coney did. But he kept us in that playoff series. He kept us in that playoff game, and he got us to the playoffs. And really, if everything from 1995, we owe a lot of thanks to the 1995 team, really, for the success that we have today, because it catapulted the Yankees into a winning culture and to all the winning that we've experienced, over the last 30 years. And he was really responsible for it, not just his abilities, but his attitude. He was just such a gamer, You just felt confident when David Cone was on the mound.
And he's still a gamer to this day. Ciarra, I know that you really are a Coney fan, but know him from the booth, and his analysis of what we're seeing during games, right?
Yeah, I mean, not only does he know his stuff, but he's not boring. Sometimes it's hard to listen to broadcasters or anyone in the booth because some of them are so dry. You know what I mean? Thankfully, most of the guys for Yes and for the Yankees are entertaining, but I've listened to games on ESPN and Fox where I'm just like, snooze fest. Like, what are we talking about here? Can we move on? So I love David Cone for that aspect. But, Spencer mentioned 1995 and how it really catapulted us into this winning organization. 1995, making the postseason for the first time since 81 is the first and only time Don Mattingly was able to sniff the playoffs. So
right.
I'm sure that must have felt good for him, even though obviously the Yankees didn't go anywhere after that wild card series. But imagine going your whole career and not making the playoffs and then finally getting to do it in your last season. And he can thank David Cone for most of that.
Oh,
now what you were saying about 1996, that was just so disheartening when he was diagnosed with the aneurysm in his arm. And I think, Lynn, I don't think any of us really knew just how serious that was. I think, like lots of Yankee fans, you're just crossing your fingers, hoping, believing that eventually he's going to return. But he said that he thought his career might have been over. And when you understand what these aneurysms are and how dangerous they are, they can be life endangering. It's pretty remarkable that he was able to heal himself and be able to get himself back on the mound. And of course, we all remember his first came back in September of 1996, which, just to backtrack a little bit, 1996, again, we wanted to not just get back to the playoffs, we wanted to go further into the playoffs. And that really seemed in jeopardy with the loss of our ace starter. But it was just remarkable when he came back in Oakland and pitched 7 no-hit innings against the A's, his first game back. What a gamer. Who would have seen that coming? And that's also given us such a great memory and such a great note of Yankee history, because even if you weren't born then, even if you weren't alive then, you've likely heard about how David Cone came back from an aneurysm and effectively pitched a no-hitter. And then we moved on into the playoffs and finally got to the World Series that year.
Yeah. And David Cone is a gamer, but he's also a humble gamer. And people, broadcasters sometimes wax on about their own careers and try to find an opportunity to squeeze in, moments of glory. But these are things that I've never personally heard Coney talk about, in the booth or even on his own podcast, in the way that we're shouting out today. And I really do hope he comes back to making more episodes of Towing the Slab, because I really just enjoyed that podcast of his.
Well, Ciarra, when you hear David Cone, you probably think he's like this mild-mannered, maybe even a little bit of a nerdy broadcaster, nerdy guy. His personality today belies, his toughness.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's very like nerdy, laid back. He's always lifting up Paul O'Neill and Paul O'Neill's career and making jokes about him. I believe it was yesterday they were making fun of Paul O'Neill because on Wikipedia it says he throws left and kicks right, or vice versa, because there was the one game where he kicked the ball, and they were making fun of O'Neill because he was a position player who had to pitch in a few games. But yeah, David Cone, definitely, when you hear him talk on the broadcast, he does not come off as like this bulldog, big, tough pitcher. He's very soft-spoken and funny, honestly.
Hilarious, and loves to embarrass Michael Kay in the booth, which I also enjoy. And also known to pop out of his chair in the booth and do a little disco dancing. So he's a gamer and a partier and a bit of a playboy, I would imagine. Well,
the next great moment that he gave us that comes to my mind does go to that 1996 World Series. Of course, he pitched in the ALDS and the League Championship Series, but let's go back to the 1996 World Series. We think of it in such glorious fashion. We connect it to the 3 consecutive World Series that happened after 1997. But you take a reality check, the Yankees were very, 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 very inferior to the massive defending World Series champions, the Braves. And the Braves proved that in the first 2 games by bashing the hell out of us in game 1, 12-1. And then Greg Maddux just mastered the Yankee lineup in game 2 and beat us 4-0. And after that game 2, all Yankee fans, we felt this feeling of dread right in the middle, right in the pit of our stomachs. I mean, if you looked at that series honestly at the way it was going, you thought, God, there is no way we're going to beat this team. And at that point, you're just praying, please, let us just get a win so that we don't get the humiliation of being swept. To come all this way only to get outclassed and outgained by the Braves was just not what Yankees fans wanted. But David Cone was the man to help turn the tide for the Yankees, and his pitching performance in game 3, I mean, again, pivotal moment. Again, if it wasn't for David Cone, I don't think you get those 3 consecutive World Series. I don't think the so-called dynasty that we like to lay our hat on, I don't think it ever happens. In that pitching performance, he stifled the Braves, and he got the Yankees in position to win those 3 games, as Joe Torre had predicted in Atlanta. And son of a gun, we came home with a 3-2 lead. Again, if you look at that World Series, honestly, I mean, that World Series, we were very, very lucky to win it. It was the 5-3 win in Game 4. Game 4, Game 4, the game that Kenny Rogers started and messed up. We were down 6-1, and it looked like there was no way we were going to catch up. And then, of course, Leyritz hit the game-tying 8th-inning home run, and Wade Boggs got the game-scoring bases-loaded walk. So we scratched out that win, and then, of course, you had Andy Pettit's masterful 1-0 win against John Smoltz in Game 5. But I mean, again, with a score like that, I mean, a hit here, an error there, the game could have gone any way. So we were very fortunate that it went our way, and we were very fortunate that Game 6 came back to New York. We had a 3-2 lead, and we won that World Series. It was just the most remarkable thing. You have David Cone to thank for it.
Yeah, and not only was Game 3 a huge pivotal moment in that World Series for us, but the 6th inning of Game 3 was a pivotal moment for us. The bases were loaded. There was 1 out, and David Cone could have crashed and burned in that moment. He could have gave up Game 3 in the 6th inning, but he didn't. He got himself out of that jam, only allowing 1 run. And that is the type of pitcher that I want on the mound in those types of situations. Yeah. And I'm just going to say it. History repeats itself, right? So 95, we lost heartbreaker and finally made the playoffs, and we lost. Yeah. We come back in 96. We are the underdog, but we win the World Series. I'm going to fast forward to now. We just lost a heartbreaking World Series in 2024. Who knows? 2025 could be our 1996. This could be our redemption year. And back then it was a longer drought. It was an 18-year drought. We're in a 16-year drought now. So I'm just throwing that out there, that history likes to repeat itself.
Hey, let's you know what? Let that be. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen, all the way in 25. And Sean is saying, and I'm not mad at this at all. Sean Browning saying John Smoltz is still bitter about 96 and 99. You want to talk about the worst broadcaster in MLB? That's when John and Susan. Well, now not John and Susan, but that's when I'd be putting on FAN. If I have to listen, the only way I could watch the game is with Smoltz. No, Smoltz and Joe Buck. No, just send me to purgatory. And so.
Lynn, where were you in July of 1999 when Cone pitched his epic masterpiece? Where were you in 1999 when he pitched the perfect game? That's the next big moment that David Cone gave Yankees fans.
And this is really going to paint 1999. I was at the bar in Bennigan's. A bar at Bennigan's, watching the game with a couple of friends. Watching that perfect game, and when that ended, it was sort of like all of a sudden everyone loved each other. Everyone was buying each other beers, and people that weren't Yankee fans were suddenly Yankee fans that day. So nothing. I was not at the game. I was not in front of my TV. I was at Bennigan's with a couple of friends, grabbing some wings and just watching the game. So
I hate water parks. I do not like water parks. I don't like being in my bare feet walking around in a water park with crowds. So I had 2 friends from college that said, "Hey, want to go to a water park? I forget what it's called, but it's up in North Jersey." They nagged me on. I said, "Okay, let's go." End of the day, we're driving home. It's dark. I made an illegal U-turn, and I got pulled over by a cop, and I got a ticket for my illegal U-turn. So that's the way the night ended. We put on the radio, it's a talk radio, and the sports report comes on. Today at Yankee Stadium, the Yankees won. They beat the Expos. And David Cone, and when he said David Cone, there's like a little pause in me thinking, oh no, he's going to say David Cone pitched a no-hitter and I missed it. David Cone pitched a perfect game, and I really squeezed the steering wheel. I dropped my friends home, and in my car, I'm thinking, I can't believe I missed another perfect game going to this stupid water park. I hate water parks. And what do I get for it? I missed David Cone's perfect game. I was so mad. I can't believe I missed the perfect game. That is how I remember the perfect game. I remember I was at a water park that I did not want to be at. The great thing about the perfect game, of course, it came a year after David Wells pitched his perfect game. And we all thought that Mike Mussina was going to pitch a perfect game in the year, I think he almost pitched it in 2000, or maybe it was 2001.
I think it was 2001.
And of course, 2001, one strike away. But anyway, like that perfect game, all of a sudden, what are Yankee fans saying? Well, David Wells pitched a perfect game in 1998, and the Yankees won the World Series. So this has got to be a sign. You can't pitch a perfect game of the regular season and not win the World Series. You got to win the World Series to validate the perfect game.
You know what, Spencer? That really is a Seinfeld episode that should have been. Like Kramer makes everyone go to the water park, and wow, what a story! That's better than Bennigan's. And Tats threw up in the chat there that he was listening at work, got so excited about the results that he crashed the high-low. I'm not sure what a high-low is, but hope doesn't mean you weren't on a high platform and fell. I don't know. We're going to have to talk about that, Tats. But
I don't know if either of you have read David Cone's autobiography. I got his autobiography. I went to his book signing at the Yogi Berra Museum. But a very, very good write. I usually don't like autobiographies, but I really learned a lot about pitching. And of course, it was interesting to hear him go through what he was going through when he pitched that perfect game. We've heard it on Yes. He's talked about it, how in the ninth inning, he looked in the mirror and told himself, you got this, you got this. And then got those final 3 outs against the Montreal Expos, even after being in an hour and a half rain delay. So again, we get David Cone in 1995, and he gives us another big moment.
Yeah. And Sean is saying that I was off by a year. Mussina almost pitched the perfect game in 2000, and he was pitching against Cone.
It was 2000. Okay.
Yeah, it was Mussina versus Cone, Sean is saying.
That would make sense to me, because it's like you're thinking, oh my God, are we really going to get another perfect game? And if we get another perfect game, that's a sign that we're going to go to the World Series. So get the perfect game. We're going to go to the World Series. Come on, get that perfect game. Oh, just barely missed it.
Sean is also reminding us that Cone's perfect game was Yogi Berra Day with Don Larson in attendance.
What are the chances? I mean, talk about the baseball gods lining up and like just giving you the story, giving you the moment. They're giving you the history.
Yeah, I mean, it was like it was staged, right? It was a Cinderella moment within a Cinderella moment. You couldn't have written a better script. And I just want to, as we start to wrap things up a bit, I found a great quote from, of all people, an MLB umpire. His name is Durwood Merrill. The name's not ringing a bell from those days, but all throughout the show, Spencer, you've been calling him a gamer, and now this quote's really resonating, so I'm going to read it. The Yankees' David Cone, who could have been a linebacker, is what I call a junkyard dog, because he'll knock you out of the box without blinking. He's got a better than average fastball and a real hard slider. Those 2 pitches help set up one of the best changeups in either league. Guys with 3 strong pitches are going to give you consistently good outings. So a gamer and a junkyard dog. Well, that's our hero of the week.
I know we're getting towards the end. I know we're a little overtime at this point, but I would be remiss not to just review the year 2000. And that, of course, was when David had his struggles. He started off 0-10. He did not have his control. It was really looking bad for him. And he was relegated to the bullpen in the year 2000 World Series, which, by the way, this is the 25th year anniversary of the Subway Series. We should talk about that at some point. But even though he faced one batter the whole World Series, and we all remember it was against Mike Piazza. I think it was the 8th inning. It was a critical point in the ball game, and he got Piazza to fly out. Now, if you just read the box score, or if you just watch the game, it's like a regular error. Okay, no big deal. But if you remember the series and that game in the moment, I mean, it was just so incredible because you didn't really know what to expect from Cone, but he went on the mound believing in himself. Again, like you just said, like that quote you just read, he was a gamer, and he was not going to let Mike Piazza get the best of him. And that was really his last great moment in Pinstripes. But David Cone, we gotta applaud you, because no David Cone, no Dynasty, none of this winning. We're probably still waiting for our next World Series. We're probably like the Dodgers, going into our 40th year without a World Series. I'm telling you, it was a pivotal moment when the Yankees got him in 1995, and he gave us so many great memories, and he set such an example for Yankee pitchers and for the best of the Yankees.
I think that this was a brilliant way to kick off this series, this show we have going on that now is officially launched, because it just brings us into further realization of all of the things, regardless of, look at the three of us, regardless of what era we know Cone from.
Yeah.
He is just the full Monty. He has done it all in every stages. And you're reminding me, Spencer, I forgot that he was Nestored and put in the bullpen during the World Series.
Except he had a better outcome than Nestor.
That's just an amazing. Thank you for bringing that back.
Darren, I'm curious. Like, what's something about David Cone, a pitching performance that he had, or something about him that you've heard of? Because you were a youngster when he was pitching with the Yankees. What's something about him that you kind of wish that you could have seen, with adult eyes?
So actually, the 99 perfect game is one of my very first memories of Yankees baseball. So my grandfather is a big Yankees fan. I grew up in upstate New York, so born into a family of Yankees fans. And I remember listening to it on the radio with him. We were camping. So that is one of my very first memories of Yankees baseball, is listening to the David Cone perfect game.
Yeah.
And just how, and at that time in my life, I was very young. I didn't understand why it made my grandfather so happy. Yeah. Now that I'm an adult who watches baseball, and I understand that my emotions ride on Yankees baseball and how well they perform, I totally get it now. So I wish I could have understood it more back then. Yeah. Because at that time, I was just excited because he was excited.
Yeah.
But I've gone back and I've watched film from the 96 World Series, and I wish I could have experienced that real time and got to enjoy it with fellow Yankees fans. The only World Series I truly remember all of is 2009.
Yeah.
So I really need another one at this point.
I think we're going to get you one. I think this is the year. You said so, Ciarra, so I'm counting on it.
Just saying, history repeats itself. It's our time.
And the chat has really been loving this and giving all the flowers to David Cone. And John the Beagle Dad is saying, I did experience it. Man, I felt great. It was magical when he pitched the perfect game.
Between him and Ciarra, I'm the only one that still hasn't seen David Cone's perfect game. I'm a 40-year fan. I'm a 26-year season ticket holder, but you saw the perfect game. I would have given anything to have seen that game. I did see Domingo Germán's perfect game, but I watched it on an iPhone. He did it in Oakland. Not that it was against the Oakland A's, but it wasn't the same thing as doing it in front of your home crowd,
I struggled to stay awake for that one because it was a West Coast game, and I'm like, gotta work the next day, because now I am an adult.
I despise adulting. So, any final thoughts before we talk about next time?
Well, for those of us who are just joining us now, this podcast, it's going to appear 2 times a month. We're going to be recording live on days when the Yankees either have an off day or if they're getting a late start on the West Coast. This way, our podcast doesn't clash with Yankee games, because we know we all want to watch the Yankees games. We can't miss Aaron Judge, hitting those home runs where he's hitting those bombs. And we'll do this in the season. So if the Yankees if they go into November, if they're in the World Series, you should be getting about 17 or 18 episodes from us. And we're going to try to pick some good topics, to talk about. And it's not going to be all old stuff. We'll talk about, some recent stuff too. There's nothing wrong with recent. As Scott Muni, the famous DJ, used to say, it doesn't have to be old to be classic. It just has to rock.
Absolutely. And we will at some point go a little bit further back, because, there's new generations of fans that need to know why we think we're such a big deal. And that means going, a little bit back, maybe not so much about the legends that are so well known, but, to highlight some guys from the 50s and the 40s.
I liken it like this, Lynn.
Yeah.
We all love Babe Ruth. We all love Derek Jeter. We all love Aaron Judge. But I think most fans identify more with the Moonlight Grahams of the world than they do with the Big Boppers. And that's really what we're trying to do with this. Again, we're loose with the rules. There's nothing wrong with talking about Derek Jeter or Aaron Judge. But we want to shed light, on things that don't really get talked about, because we think that Yankees fans are interested in these things.
Exactly.
We'll find out.
Exactly. And you nailed it in terms of the whole, the whole premise of why we wanted to bring this, because history is important. History is really the source of this pride, power, pinstripes. And if you don't understand it, then when your friends tell you, the Yankees are full of it, you're going to start believing them. So we're here to tell you, no, it's not that. There's things you got to learn about us. So that's what we're here to do. And hey, shout out to the chat who also knew their stuff tonight and highlighted some facts as well. And there's nothing wrong with old stuff, John the Beagle Dad. Hey, I'm old stuff, and there are some things wrong with me, but anyway. So we will be on next. Spencer was absolutely right. Our goal is to do 2 times a month. In April, we're going live one night. And so book it now. It is April 24th. It's an off night. 8 p.m., just like it was tonight. We'll be promoting it out between now and then. And I think we're zoning in the 2000s. Can either of you remind me of the year we're going to focus on?
We're going to talk about 2003.
I think we tentatively said 2003. I think tentatively 2003, but yeah.
My favorite rivalry of all time, the early 2000s Yankees Red Sox, will definitely be brought up on that episode.
Oh yeah. We're gonna bring the heat on April 24th, and who knows? It might be a parallel this season with that. We'll see how things play out with the Red Sox. But this whole Devers thing has us wondering.
I will gladly take Devers. Put him in pinstripes. Like if he wants to be gone from the Red Sox, put him in pinstripes. I will take him any day of the week.
Yep, 100%. Ciarra and Spencer, thank you so much for all the goodness you brought to the conversation. I'm so excited, and everyone in the chat, come back, tell your friends. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe if you're not already subscribing. And we want to keep making history with you. So until next time, have a good evening, and let's go, Yankees.
Go Yanks.